7 reasons women resent their husbands as they age, and how to fix it. Senior wisdom and relationship advice. Hello, and welcome. Today, I want to speak directly to the quiet hearts, to the wives who carry invisible weights, and to the husbands who feel a distance they can't explain. I want to talk about something that isn't easy to admit, not in public, not even in private, but it's real, it's common, and most importantly, it can be healed. As a physician who has worked with families and couples for over 2 decades, I've sat with countless women, strong, wise, compassionate women who, as they grow older, begin to carry something quietly heavy inside them. Resentment. Resentment toward the man they once fell deeply in love with, the man they raised children with, the man who may still sleep beside them, and yet, in some ways, feels worlds apart. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about blame. This isn't about pointing fingers or taking sides. This is about understanding. It's about recognizing what so often goes unspoken in long-term relationships and giving voice to the pain before it becomes permanent distance. Because here's the truth most people don't talk about. Resentment doesn't usually explode. It builds. It simmers. It accumulates over time, like dust in the corners of a home. Invisible at first, but eventually choking the light out of the space where love once thrived. It happens slowly. 100 small unmet needs. 1,000 moments of emotional disconnection. And one day, a woman wakes up and realizes she doesn't recognize the man she married. Or worse, she doesn't recognize herself anymore. But it doesn't have to stay that way. This video is for every couple who has ever asked, why do we feel so deep? Why am I so angry with someone I once loved so deeply? Is it too late for us? I want to tell you, no, it's not too late. Not if both people are willing to see with new eyes, to listen without defense, and to act with courage. In this video, we'll explore 7 of the most common reasons why women begin to resent their husbands as they age. These reasons are not based on theory. They're drawn from real conversations, real pain, and real stories of healing. More importantly, I'll walk you through practical, compassionate solutions for each one. Solutions that don't just focus on communication or compromise, but that dive deeper into identity, aging, emotional intimacy, and unmet emotional needs. This isn't just a relationship video. It's a roadmap to reconnecting with each other, not just as spouses, but as humans who still carry hope, dreams, and the desire to be seen and loved. So whether you're a husband who wants to understand your wife more deeply, or a wife who feels like her voice has been lost along the way, or a couple who's trying to heal what time, stress, and silence have slowly broken, stay with me, because understanding is the first step toward healing. And healing, even this late in the journey, is not only possible, it's powerful. Let's begin. In the early years of marriage, emotional connection often flows naturally. Couples talk late into the night, share dreams, and laugh over little things. But as life unfolds, children, careers, aging parents, mortgages, something quietly shifts. Conversations become transactional. Did you pay the bill? Can you pick up the kids? What's for dinner? And slowly, many women begin to feel something they don't know how to name at first. They feel emotionally invisible. Not ignored exactly. He's still there, but he doesn't really see her. Not in the way he used to. Not in the way she longs for. Speech balloon what she often feels, but doesn't say. He never asks how I'm really doing. I share something that matters to me, and he changes the subject. I feel like a background character in his life, not a partner. These aren't just emotional complaints. They're signs of a deep emotional starvation that can grow over years. As a doctor, I've seen how this invisible hunger affects the body and mind. Anxiety, depression, fatigue, even chronic pain. Because we were made to be known, not just touched physically or helped practically, but seen, emotionally. Magnifying glass tilted left why this happens. Many husbands are not emotionally neglectful out of cruelty. More often, they simply don't realize it's happening. Men are often socialized to fix things, to solve problems. They assume if there's no major issue, everything is fine. But emotional presence isn't about solving. It's about showing up. It's about tuning in. Unfortunately, as men age, some lean further into silence. Perhaps because they don't have the tools to express emotion, or because they themselves feel emotionally shut down. Meanwhile, their wives are longing, not for grand romantic gestures, but for daily emotional availability. Red Heart what emotional presence looks like. Sitting down, looking her in the eyes, and asking, how are you, really? Listening without interrupting or problem-solving. Following up on something she shared last week, simply because it mattered to her. Saying I see you, I appreciate you, I'm proud of you. These small moments of intentional attention rebuild trust and intimacy, more than any gift or vacation ever could. stethoscope from a clinical perspective. In my practice, I often hear women in midlife or beyond say things like, "I feel like a ghost in my own marriage. It's not that he's a bad man. He just doesn't see me anymore." That kind of emotional erosion, when left unaddressed, leads to the slow decay of partnership. And over time, it turns to resentment. That resentment becomes internal dialogue. Why doesn't he notice how tired I am? I've supported him all these years. Why can't he support me emotionally? I shouldn't have to ask for this. When these thoughts repeat daily, it breeds emotional distance, even in couples who still love each other deeply. Hammer and wrench how to fix it. For husbands, start with one question a day that isn't logistical. Something like, "What's been on your heart lately?" Practice reflective listening. "What I hear you saying is," it shows you're truly trying to understand. Acknowledge her emotions even if you don't fully understand them. "That sounds really hard. I'm sorry you're feeling that way." For wives, express your needs directly, but gently. Use I statements. "I feel disconnected when we don't talk about deeper things." Don't wait for a crisis to express your feelings. Daily vulnerability builds safety and trust. Celebrate small emotional wins. If he opens up or asks a meaningful question, affirm it. Together, create sacred space. 15 minutes a day, phones down, TV off, just talking. Consider counseling, not because your marriage is broken, but because it deserves more than survival. Read or listen to something about emotional intimacy together. Let learning be a shared journey. Give a word of hope. If emotional invisibility is something you or your partner have felt, know this: it's not the end of the road. Some of the most powerful emotional reconnections I've witnessed in couples have happened after 30, 40, even 50 years of marriage. It's never too late to turn toward each other. It begins with humility, courage, and one honest conversation. When a woman feels seen, something awakens in her. When a man learns how to see, something awakens in him too. And together, that awakening can bring back the light, the laughter, and the love, not from the past, but something new for the season they're in now. As couples age, the responsibilities of life don't magically shrink. If anything, they often multiply. Kids may grow up, but they're replaced by aging parents, medical appointments, retirement planning, managing the household, cooking, cleaning, remembering anniversaries and birthdays, and keeping track of everything that keeps a life moving. And in many marriages, the weight of it all falls disproportionately on the woman's shoulders. This invisible burden has a name. It's called the mental load. Brain, what is the mental load? The mental load refers to the cognitive and emotional effort involved in managing a household and caring for others. It's not just the task of doing something. It's the constant thinking about what needs to be done, when, and how. It's the difference between, "Can you help me clean the kitchen?" versus, "Can you remember that the kitchen needs cleaning?" and initiate it yourself without being asked. One is help, the other is shared ownership. And when a woman feels like she's the only one keeping track of life, she doesn't just feel overwhelmed, she feels alone. Speech balloon common thoughts women have, but rarely voice. "I'm tired of being the project manager of this family. Why do I have to remind him to pick up the prescription every month? I wish he would think ahead like I do." Over time, this silent weight builds resentment, not because she doesn't love her husband, but because she feels unseen in her labor. Why this happens? Many husbands are not intentionally neglectful. Some genuinely believe that if they're doing their part, perhaps working, fixing things, or even helping with errands, that they're carrying the load equally. But here's the critical difference. Doing tasks is not equal to managing tasks. The mental load is about the invisible planning, noticing, anticipating. And that's where many women feel alone. In my conversations with couples, I often hear men say, "I'm happy to help. She just needs to tell me what to do." But that sentence, although well-meaning, reveals the issue. She doesn't want to be a manager. She wants to be a partner. Test tube the emotional impact. In medical practice, I've seen how carrying the mental load manifests as chronic fatigue, sleep disorders, high blood pressure, burnout, mood swings. These are not just signs of aging. They are often symptoms of carrying too much for too long. It's not selfish for a woman to want help. It's not nagging. It's survival. Hammer and wrench how to fix it. For husbands, notice before she asks, "Is the trash full? The fridge empty?" Don't wait to be told. Own entire categories. Don't just help, take full responsibility for things like meal planning, bills, or scheduling appointments. Be proactive. Ask, "Is there anything you've been carrying mentally that I can take off your plate?" For wives, express your load clearly. Make a list of everything on your mind, not to blame, but to create shared awareness. Ask for shared leadership. "I don't want to be the only one keeping track of everything. Can we build systems so we both carry this together?" Let go of perfection. If your partner steps in, resist the urge to correct. Encourage his effort. Together, use tools. Shared calendars, reminders, or checklists can lighten the load. Hold weekly meetings. 10 minutes to talk about the week's responsibilities can prevent years of resentment. Celebrate shared wins. Gratitude encourages more participation than criticism ever will. Give a word of hope. When couples learn to truly share the invisible work, marriages flourish. I've seen exhausted women regain their energy not because life became easier, but because it became shared. And I've seen men light up with new purpose when they step fully into the role of emotional and mental partner, not just logistical helper. If you're a husband listening to this and thinking, I didn't realize how much she was carrying, don't feel guilty. Feel empowered. Today can be the day you start lifting the load, not because she asks, but because you see. And if you're a woman listening to this and nodding with tears in your eyes, please know, you are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not too much. You are carrying more than you should, and it's okay to ask for change. Marriage is not about one person doing it all. It's about two people learning, sometimes the hard way, how to build a life together. As the years pass, one of the quietest, most complex sources of resentment in many marriages is physical disconnection. Not just sex, but the overall experience of being touched, held, noticed, and appreciated. And many women, as they grow older, feel this aching void deepen, even if they don't have the words for it. Whiteheart, what touched out, really means we often associate this term with young mothers. Women constantly handling babies, toddlers, and managing chaos, to the point where they feel physically overwhelmed. But what many don't realize is that older women can also feel touched out, but in a very different way. Not because they're being physically touched too much, but because they're being emotionally and spiritually touched too little, and their bodies are being reduced to expectations rather than cherished beings. This creates a strange contradiction. They're craving real intimacy, connection, emotional safety. But they're shutting down when their husbands reach for sex without presence. And the reason? They feel unseen, unheard, uncherished. They're not resisting affection. They're resisting transactional intimacy. DNA, how aging shifts physical needs. Let's be clear. Aging changes everything. Hormones, energy levels, body image, and libido all evolve with time. For women, menopause can bring decreased estrogen, affecting mood, dryness, and arousal. Sleep disruption, weight changes, emotional sensitivity. So when a husband continues to approach intimacy as he did in his 30s, quick, physical, and goal-driven, it can feel tone-deaf, even painful. She's not rejecting him. She's longing for depth before touch. She needs her heart touched before her body ever feels safe to respond. Speech balloon, what she's really thinking. Does he still see me as beautiful? Why does he only touch me when he wants something? I need emotional connection first. I can't flip a switch. But most women don't say these things aloud. Why? Because they don't want to hurt their husband's feelings. Because they're tired of explaining. Or because they've convinced themselves it's too late for change. So they retreat, physically and emotionally, while inside, the resentment brews. Magnifying glass tilted left. The root of physical resentment isn't rejection. It's loneliness. In my clinical practice, I've counseled couples who haven't shared physical intimacy in years. The wives often tell me, I miss wanting to be close. I miss when we used to laugh and flirt, but now it just feels like another demand. And when I ask, what would help rebuild that connection? Their answers are simple and profoundly human. Hold my hand without expectation. Compliment me like you used to. Just talk to me. Like really talk. Not about the bills or errands, but about us. Women don't need grand gestures. They need presence. They need to feel pursued, not pressured. Brain men often misread the signals. Husbands may feel confused. She never wants to be close anymore. Did I do something wrong? Yes, but not in malice. In neglect. When a woman feels emotionally distant, physical closeness becomes uncomfortable. So he withdraws further. She interprets that as disinterest. The gap widens, and the marriage becomes two parallel lives under the same roof. Hammer and wrench, how to fix it. For husbands, relearn her love language. What made her feel cherished at May 25th not be the same at 55. Build emotional foreplay. Connection throughout the day, kind words, genuine compliments, thoughtful gestures matter far more than the moment in bed. Touch without agenda. Hug her without expectation. Kiss her forehead. Hold her hand during prayer. For wives, voice your needs gently. I miss being held is more powerful than you never touch me. Be open to connection, not perfection. If he's trying, acknowledge it. Let grace lead. Reclaim your own body. Aging doesn't mean invisibility. Your body is still worthy of love, care, and celebration. Together, create space for intimacy. Schedule alone time. Not just for sex, but for reconnection. Talk about your fears. Aging, illness, insecurity. Share the truths that make you human. Laugh together again. Playfulness opens the door to passion. Double word of hope. Dear couple in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, it is not too late to rediscover each other. In fact, some of the most beautiful intimacy I've witnessed has come from couples in their older years, not in the peak of their bodies, but in the depth of their knowing. When a woman feels seen, safe, and pursued, she blossoms. When a man learns that love is not just pursuit, but presence, he becomes her haven. Resentment dies in the presence of consistent affection, not just sexual, but soulful. You can rebuild, one touch at a time. One of the most heartbreaking and overlooked reasons women grow to resent their husbands as they age is this. She feels emotionally invisible, not unloved, not unwanted, but unseen. And that, over time, becomes a silent ache she carries deep within her heart. Broken heart. The slow erosion of emotional intimacy. In the early years of marriage, emotional intimacy is often at its peak. Long conversations, deep sharing, listening with genuine curiosity, staying up late dreaming together. But as years pass, life gets busy. Careers demand time and energy. Kids dominate schedules and attention. Aging parents require care. Bills, responsibilities, and health challenges take over, and slowly, the emotional connection fades, like a light dimming slowly in a room. She notices it first. Women often do. She drops hints, initiates conversation, maybe even suggests therapy or quality time. But if she's met with dismissiveness, distraction, or defensiveness, she stops trying, and resentment takes root. Emotional neglect isn't always loud. It's not always about arguments or obvious disrespect. In fact, emotional neglect often looks like this. Nods without listening, monosyllabic answers, no follow-up questions, checking the phone mid-conversation, forgetting important things she shared, and the message she receives. I'm not important enough to be remembered. Even if that's not your intention, it becomes her experience. While this wounds more deeply over time as women age, emotional connection becomes even more vital. Here's why. Hormonal changes increase emotional sensitivity. Life transitions, empty nest, retirement, menopause, bring identity shifts. She may feel less useful and more invisible in society. She seeks affirmation of her soul. Not just her role. She wants to be known, not for what she does, but for who she is. If she feels like her husband only interacts with her functionally, to ask about meals, errands, grandkids, but never emotionally, she starts to question her place in his heart. Speaking Ed, what she's really thinking. I miss the way he used to listen to me. Does he even know who I am anymore? I'm tired of talking to someone who's not really present. And the most dangerous thought? Maybe it's better not to say anything at all. That's when emotional distance becomes emotional abandonment. Pinch a face. Why husbands often don't realize this. Many husbands don't ignore their wives on purpose. They may be overwhelmed with work, stressed about finances, or emotionally exhausted themselves. Some have never been taught how to connect emotionally, how to ask questions, reflect feelings, or hold space without trying to fix. Others assume that if nothing is wrong, there's nothing to talk about. But that's where they miss the mark. Because to women, silence isn't peace, it's often pain. How to fix it? For husbands, start with one question per day. Ask, how are you really feeling today? And listen without interrupting. Use her name when you speak to her. It reminds her she's more than a title, mom, wife, grandma. Put down the phone. When she speaks, look her in the eye. Presence is powerful. Remember the little things. Refer back to things she told you last week. It tells her she matters. For wives, be honest, not harsh. Say, I miss connecting with you. Instead of you never talk to me. Request connection. Ask for a walk, a coffee chat, or a moment of prayer together. Celebrate small efforts. If he starts trying, notice and affirm it. Together, create a weekly ritual, a Sunday night check-in, a walk around the block, or even 10 minutes before bed. Share emotional updates, not just what happened today, but what you felt about it. Pray together. Inviting God into your emotional world binds your hearts together. Speech balloon, a conversation starter. I know we've both been busy and life has been full, but I miss you. Not just being near you, but knowing what's in your heart. Can we talk tonight? Just us? That one sentence could open a door that's been closed for years. Give a word of hope to every couple feeling emotionally distant. You can reconnect. Emotional intimacy is like a garden, neglected. It withers, but with attention and care, it blooms again. She doesn't need grand gestures. She needs you to be fully present, to see her, to hear her, to know her again. And when she feels known, resentment fades, and love returns in deeper, more beautiful ways than ever before. As women age, one of the most persistent sources of quiet frustration and growing resentment is this. She feels like she's still managing everything, even when you think she's not. It's called the mental load, and it's not just about doing tasks. It's about being the one who remembers, plans, anticipates, and carries the weight of keeping life moving. Even in retirement, even after the kids have moved out, this load doesn't magically disappear. In fact, it often intensifies, and she notices if she's still carrying it alone. Brain, what is the mental load? The mental load includes all the invisible, behind-the-scenes responsibilities that keep a household, relationship, or family functioning. Examples: remembering birthdays, appointments, and doctor visits, keeping track of the grandkids' schedules, noticing when the toothpaste is low and restocking it, planning meals, grocery lists, and holiday gatherings, keeping the social calendar organized, anticipating needs before they're spoken, and perhaps most exhausting, being the default go-to person for everyone. Over time, this makes a woman feel like a manager instead of a partner. Disappointed, face what she's thinking but not saying. Why do I have to be the one to think about everything? Even if he helps, I still have to tell him what needs to be done. When do I get to rest, truly rest, without worrying about what's next? She might not say these things aloud, but she feels them every day. And unspoken resentment is like a slow leak in the tire of a relationship. It won't burst loudly, but it will eventually leave you stuck. Why husbands often miss this? As a physician with over 20 years of experience talking to couples, I've seen this pattern play out repeatedly. Men are often willing to help. They'll run errands, do dishes, mow the lawn. But the mental burden isn't just about doing. It's about owning part of the cognitive labor. That means not waiting to be asked, taking initiative, noticing what needs attention, carrying part of the invisible planning. Unfortunately, many men were never taught this growing up. Society often raised boys to focus on tasks, not anticipation. So they help with what's assigned, but rarely carry the planning load alongside their wives. To her, that feels lonely. DNA, how this affects her health and well-being. When a woman carries the mental load alone for decades, it's more than just a stressor. It becomes a health issue. Elevated cortisol levels, stress hormone, poor sleep quality due to racing thoughts, chronic fatigue, emotional burnout, increased risk of anxiety and depression, and perhaps most damaging to a relationship, she begins to believe she's alone, even when someone is physically beside her. That loneliness builds walls, and behind those walls, resentment grows. How to lighten the load? Together for husbands. Don't ask her what needs to be done. Observe and act on a full category. For example, you handle all vehicle maintenance, or you manage medication refills. Be the calendar checker. Know what's coming up this week for both of you. Anticipate needs. Ask yourself, what would make her feel supported this week? For wives, let go of control gradually. Many women have carried the load so long they fear letting go, even when help is offered. Name your needs clearly. I'd like you to handle all communication with the insurance company this month. Celebrate small progress. Change takes time. Acknowledge his steps, even if imperfect. Together, have a weekly 15-minute planning check-in. Go over schedules, needs, and who's handling what. Use tools. Shared calendars, apps like Todoist, or even a paper planner can reduce memory strain. Practice gratitude in both directions. Thank each other for visible and invisible labor. Speaking yet a script to start the conversation. I'm realizing that I've been carrying the mental load for so long that I don't know how to ask for help, but I really need it. Can we start planning together more intentionally? That single conversation can relieve decades of unspoken pressure. Folded hands, a spiritual perspective. In the book of Galatians 6 verse 2, the Bible says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. God never intended for one person in a marriage to carry it all, mentally, emotionally, or physically. Marriage is about bearing with one another. That includes the things you can't always see, like what she's holding in her head and heart. Let her know, you don't have to carry everything alone anymore. I see you. I'm with you. Let's share this together. Because when you lighten her mental load, you don't just make her life easier. You make your bond stronger. As the years pass, one of the most significant sources of silent resentment for many women is the feeling of being unappreciated for the countless sacrifices they've made throughout the relationship. Slightly frowning face, the silent sacrifice. Women are known for being the nurturers in relationships. They invest emotionally, physically, and mentally, often giving of themselves without hesitation or complaint. However, over time, it's easy for a wife to feel as though her sacrifices have gone unnoticed. The things she's done, whether it's raising children, taking care of the household, sacrificing her own dreams for the family, or even supporting her husband's career, might have once been appreciated. But as the years go by, there's a sense of weariness. And more often than not, these sacrifices go unnoticed. Pensive face, the unspoken pain. She might think to herself, I gave up my career dreams to support his. Is that still appreciated? I raised the children with everything I had, but when was the last time he thanked me for it? Why does it feel like the more I give, the less I get in return? It doesn't always show on the outside, but inside, the weight of these unacknowledged sacrifices begins to take its toll. She may not expect grand gestures or constant praise, but deep down, she wants to know that the little and big things she's done for the family over the years matter. Why husbands miss this? The reality is, many husbands don't notice what women sacrifice because they take it for granted that she wants to do these things. Even if she does so out of love, it doesn't mean it doesn't cost her emotionally or physically. They're too focused on their own responsibilities or daily struggles to recognize the depth of her devotion. Over time, routines become automatic. The things she's done daily for years may no longer feel special or worthy of extra appreciation. Additionally, many men aren't as attuned to emotional nuance as women are. They show affection and appreciation in different ways, but it might not be enough for her to feel seen and valued for her sacrifices. Broken heart, the emotional toll of feeling unappreciated over the years. The lack of appreciation slowly erodes the emotional bond between a husband and wife. The resentment doesn't necessarily build overnight. It's the small things that accumulate. She starts feeling invisible, as though her efforts don't matter anymore. She may start to withdraw emotionally. Feeling a lack of appreciation can lead to frustration, which often manifests in irritability, bitterness, or even silence. It can also lead to a sense of self-worth being tied to what she does rather than who she is. The healing journey. If this is something that resonates with you as a husband, here are a few things you can do to address it. Acknowledge her sacrifices daily. Even small acts of recognition can make a huge difference. A simple thank you for all you do goes a long way. Make time for her. Show her that her well-being is just as important as your own. Set aside time to have meaningful conversations or engage in activities together. Take the initiative. Instead of waiting for her to ask, step in and share some of the responsibilities she's been carrying. Affirm her worth. Remind her that she is valuable, not just for what she does, but for who she is as a person. And most importantly, don't assume she knows that you appreciate her. Make it a habit to tell her. She needs to hear it, and it will make a world of difference. Lightbulb. Small ways to show gratitude. Here are simple, practical ways to show her that you see and appreciate all she does. Take over a chore she's been handling for years. Surprise her by handling something she usually takes care of, like cooking, cleaning, or organizing. Give her an unexpected day off. Give her time to herself, without any obligations. Let her relax and recharge. Send a heartfelt note. Leave a message expressing gratitude for her sacrifices and everything she does to make life better for you both. DNA. How this affects her well-being. When a woman feels unappreciated, her mental and emotional health suffers. The lack of validation for her sacrifices can contribute to chronic stress and burnout, depression or anxiety, feelings of isolation or loneliness, physical symptoms such as headaches, muscle tension, or sleep disturbances. But when she feels valued, when her contributions are recognized, the impact on her emotional health is profound. She feels more fulfilled, more connected, and more loved. A spiritual perspective. The Bible speaks about honoring one another and showing gratitude. In Ephesians 5 verse 33, it says, "However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband." When a husband expresses gratitude for his wife, it isn't just about the day-to-day tasks. It's about honoring her as a person, recognizing her value, and loving her as Christ loves the church. God calls us to be thankful in all things and to show love not just in big gestures, but in the small, everyday actions that affirm our commitment to one another. Flexed biceps. How to move forward. The power of appreciation. Recognizing her sacrifices and offering heartfelt gratitude isn't just a one-time fix. It's a continuous, ongoing effort to make sure she feels valued every single day. Take time this week to acknowledge her in meaningful ways. Let her know she matters, not just for what she does, but for the incredible woman she is. Together, this simple but powerful step of appreciation can begin to heal wounds that might have been silently festering for years. The bond between you can grow stronger, and the foundation of trust, respect, and love will be reinforced. As we grow older, life brings with it inevitable changes, both physical and emotional. For many women, aging can be a source of deep insecurity, fear, and sometimes resentment. The weight of aging is often felt in a way that is unevenly shared in a marriage. While both partners face aging in their own ways, it's common for women to feel that the burden of this reality falls primarily on them. Slightly frowning face. The burden of change. In many relationships, aging isn't just about physical changes. It's about the shifts in identity, self-worth, and how one sees themselves in the world. For women, these transitions are often met with societal pressure, personal expectations, and the natural progression of life. Physical changes like wrinkles, graying hair, and loss of youthful vitality can feel like signs of decline. The realization that certain milestones are slipping away, children growing up, career opportunities narrowing, or even the loss of close friends, can weigh heavily. The feeling of being invisible or less attractive as time passes can have a significant emotional toll. And while men also face the reality of aging, many women feel that the burden of this transition isn't always shared equally in their marriages. They often feel like their husbands don't truly see or understand the personal struggles they face as they grow older. To face the emotional struggles of aging, she might think, "I feel like my body is changing, but you still see me the same. Do you still find me beautiful? I've spent years supporting you, but now I feel like I'm being left behind as you continue to thrive. I'm starting to feel as the years go by, the fear of being overlooked or left behind can grow." This might manifest as frustration or resentment towards a partner who may not seem to be carrying this weight alongside her. Why husbands miss this struggle? The reality is that aging affects men and women differently, and sometimes the emotional and psychological burden of growing older is harder for women to express. In many cases, husbands may simply not see the struggle in the same way. Here's why. Men may not feel the same societal pressures that women do regarding aging. They may not experience the same insecurities about appearance or identity. Some men may think that their wives are fine because they don't express vulnerability as openly. But inside, she might be feeling very differently. The way men age, with graying hair or wrinkles, may be culturally more accepted or even seen as a sign of wisdom or maturity, whereas women often feel dismissed or undervalued as they age. Broken heart. The emotional toll of feeling alone and aging. When a woman feels that aging is something she has to face alone, it adds to a sense of emotional isolation in the relationship. She may feel invisible to the world, and more importantly, to her husband, only because she is navigating aging without a sense of shared experience or understanding. Neglected, as though her husband is oblivious to the deeper emotional struggle she is enduring. This emotional isolation can lead to resentment, frustration, and a growing distance in the marriage. Seedling the healing journey. Sharing the weight of aging. If this is something you can relate to as a husband, there are things you can do to share the weight of aging with your wife and support her as she navigates these changes. Acknowledge the changes she is going through. Instead of ignoring the topic of aging, open a dialogue about it. Ask how she's feeling about it and be genuinely curious about her emotional experience. Make her feel beautiful and valued. As she ages, remind her that her beauty isn't just skin deep. Compliment her on her wisdom, the experiences you've shared, and the strength you've seen in her. Show empathy. Even if you don't fully understand how she feels, go through it together. Aging can be a beautiful thing when experienced as a couple. Encourage new experiences that bring joy, whether it's traveling, taking up new hobbies, or simply finding joy in the little things together. Acknowledge that aging isn't just a personal journey. It's something to navigate together as a couple. Support, empathy, and shared experiences will help create a deeper connection as you grow older together. Lightbulb. Small ways to share the burden of aging. Here are simple ways to support your wife as she faces the reality of aging. Compliment her often. Make it a point to highlight her beauty, intelligence, and strength, especially as she experiences the changes that come with age. Plan regular couple time. Ensure that, no matter how busy life gets, you take time to enjoy each other's company, just as you did when you were younger. Encourage self-care and personal growth. Help her maintain her health and well-being by encouraging activities that are good for her mind, body, and spirit. How this affects her well-being. The emotional toll of feeling alone and aging can take a toll on a woman's physical and emotional well-being. It can contribute to increased stress and anxiety related to self-image and aging. Depression or feelings of inadequacy, as her self-worth is linked to external factors like appearance. Social withdrawal or avoidance of situations where her age might be highlighted. Physical symptoms such as fatigue, headaches, or sleep disturbances, all of which can be exacerbated by emotional distress. But when a woman feels supported, loved, and valued through the aging process, it has a healing effect on both her mental and physical health. Her sense of self-worth is reinforced, and she feels more empowered to embrace the changes that come with aging. Folded hands. A spiritual perspective on aging. God reminds us in Psalm 92 verse 14, "They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green." Aging, in God's eyes, isn't a time of decline, but a season of growth and renewal. As we age, we gain wisdom, patience, and understanding, qualities that should be celebrated rather than feared. In marriage, Aging is an opportunity to grow together in faith, trust, and love. It's a chance to see how God's grace manifests in new ways as you age together, making each other stronger, wiser, and more grounded in Him. Flexed biceps, how to move forward. Embracing aging together. Aging isn't something that has to tear you apart. In fact, it can bring you closer as you share in the experience. Together, you can celebrate the beauty of the changes that come with aging, both physical and emotional. Use the opportunity to create new memories and deepen your bond. Share in the joy of living a full life together, despite the inevitable changes. Together, you can face the challenges of aging with grace, strength, and love, knowing that every stage of life has its unique blessings.